Tonight on To the Point, reparations in California.
For centuries, systemic discrimination has created barriers of opportunity.
What state lawmakers are proposing this time following failed attempts last year. Plus, new controversial rules that could increase gas prices are rejected. Why and what happens next? Confusion and concerns for Yosemite National Park.
Our parks are special and should not be put at risk.
Tonight, the park employees and visitors pushing back over federal cuts. The new details in the Menendez brothers' convictions, what the district attorney is saying about re-examining their case, and the Los Angeles wildfires. The fallout taking a new turn with the city's fire chief ousted tonight. Good evening. As always, thank you so much for ending your week with us here on To the Point. I'm Alex Bell. And after some failed attempts last year, new reparations bills have been introduced at the state capitol. They were introduced this week by the California Legislative Black Caucus. So tonight, ABC 10's Becca Hobbecker looks at what the bills are calling for.
Yeah, Alex, 15 new bills introduced this week are aimed at addressing generational harms and racial disparities affecting Black Californians, from helping descendants of slaves with homeownership to college admissions and more. Advocates tonight explain why this push continues and what has changed.
This package is a continuation of our multi-year effort to address the deep generational harms inflicted upon Black Californians.
At a news conference this week, state lawmakers with the California Legislative Black Caucus, CLBC, talked about the importance of the 15 bills they're introducing this session, calling it the Road to Repair 2025 Priority Bill Package.
For centuries, systemic discrimination has created barriers of opportunity for economic security, housing, education, health care, and so much more.
They include AB 7, which would prioritize admissions for descendants of slaves, and AB 57, which would shift a portion of home purchase assistance funds to first-time homebuyers that are descendants of slaves.
What do we want?
Many of these suggestions come out of the years-long process of the California Reparations Task Force, which produced a more than 1,000-page report published in 2023. Camilla Moore was chair of that task force and believes this year's package of bills falls short of delivering real reparations.
One of the biggest flaws in the CLBC's current package is the absence of a fund bill. Without it, there is no sustainable plan for reparations.
She also sees the proposed Senate Bill 437 as a stall tactic. She says it calls for more study on how to determine someone's genealogy and whether they descended from an enslaved person.
And the California Reparations Task Force did this work already. We don't need an additional study.
One of the bills in the package is a reintroduction of a ballot measure that 53% of voters rejected in November, and an iteration of which failed a couple of years before that, too. It would remove involuntary servitude from the California Constitution. Currently, people incarcerated in California can be forced to work, which advocates of the bill say amounts to slavery.
If that does not sound like legalized constitutional slavery to you, I don't know exactly what that sounds like.
Jamelia Land, co-founder of the Abolish Slavery National Network, has been fighting for years to end involuntary servitude and hopes this will be the year lawmakers and voters will not just remove involuntary servitude from the Constitution,
but also making amendments to our penal code. Because Penal Code Section 2700 currently states that every able-bodied person incarcerated in a California prison shall perform as many hours of faithful labor each and every day as prescribed by the director of the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitations. That sounds like you don't have a choice, and that is forced.
We have to continue to watch. We have to continue to read the bills.
Kansa Friday Jones Muhammad is a founding member of the Coalition for a Just and Equitable California, which has played a pivotal role moving reparations work forward in the state, and a group, a coalition, she hopes lawmakers continue to listen to.
It's coming from multiple areas where Black people live, work, eat, sleep. And I think it's important for that to be a consideration when decisions are being made.
And Becca, we do want to be clear, none of the bills that we were talking about involve cash payments, right?
Yeah, that's correct. At this point, California reparations advocates, in fact, are warning people to be on alert for scams, saying any social media post, website, or email promising monetary reparations are false. And at this point, There are no financial reparations claims process in the state of California, so they want folks to be on alert for those.
Yes, absolutely. Becca, thank you so much. We appreciate it as always. All right, a controversial new fuel standard that could have raised the price of gas has been rejected by the state legal office. ABC 10 has been covering this story for months, and in November, the California Air Resources Board, or CARB, passed amendments to the state's low carbon fuel standard. It allows major polluters like oil companies to buy credits to prevent them from being penalized from the state for polluting the air. And it has endured some heavy criticism. Some predict it could increase the cost of gas and diesel. The changes were rejected by the State Office of Administrative Law, saying the wording does not conform with a provision in state code that requires, quote, clarity in rulemaking so that people who would be affected by them can easily understand them. And CARB says that they will review the order and submit rules in the next 120 days. However, any changes would require a delay, including a period of public comment. And heading into the weekend, we do want to mention gas prices are up across the state. AAA reports the state average sitting at about $4.84. In Sacramento County, the average is about $4.95. Prices are often higher at this time of the year because we know that refineries begin their transitions to those summer blends. Tonight, the Trump administration is defending the work of the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, as protests build against the government's ongoing mass cuts. The latest cuts are happening at the IRS. The firing of more than 6,000 employees has already started. That's about 6% of the workforce. The Department of Defense is also expected to lay off around 5 to 8% of its workforce. They say around 5,400 probationary workers will be released beginning next week. And the White House says President Trump campaigned and won on the promise to cut waste, fraud, and abuse.
There should be no secret about the fact that this administration is committed to cutting waste, fraud, and abuse. The president campaigned on that promise. Americans elected him on that promise, and he's actually delivering on it.
And tonight, President Trump says that he wants to put the U.S. Postal Service under the control of the Commerce Department. He called the move a way to stop losses at the $78 billion a year agency. The Postal Service has operated as an independent entity since 1970. And tonight, Yosemite Park employees and visitors are pushing back over some of the spending cuts. It comes after the Trump administration fired about 1,000 National Park Service employees. Reporter Brianna Willis shares their concerns tonight.
It's kind of heartbreaking.
Employees at Yosemite National Park are expressing their confusion and concern.
I just got an email saying that I was terminated all of a sudden, and that's what happened to a bunch of people this week. So it was pretty shocking. Like we didn't really see it coming at all.
That's the reality for a number of permanent positions and seasonal employees who learned their job offers were rescinded or that jobs are no longer available.
I'd been working in Yosemite National Park seasonally since 2019, and I was working for Aramark, the concessionaire, and I finally made the jump over last year for National Park Service, and it just felt like, I finally found this position that I felt fulfilled doing. I felt happy to go to work and excited to be a part of the park system, and yeah, it's just kind of unfortunate in the situation,
The Trump administration has fired about 1,000 newly hired National Park Service employees whose roles include cleaning and maintaining parks and educating visitors. It's part of the president's promise to cut costs and analyze government efficiency. Ken Yeager has lived in Mariposa County for nearly 50 years and worries about the long-term impact of the eliminated jobs.
So these people don't have anywhere to live right now. They have no income. And some of these people, it's questionable whether they're even going to get unemployment to tide them over until they can find another job and find housing.
People are also worried that a lack of staffing to handle millions of tourists in Yosemite each year could have harmful effects on wildlife.
I'm befuddled, but I'm also really angry because once a bear dies because we don't have enough people to manage the trash well, once a bear is hit by a car because of overcrowding.
Regional Executive Director for the National Wildlife Federation, Beth Pratt, says she believes protecting the sights and sounds of the natural wonders like Yosemite should be bipartisan.
Why are we messing with one thing that most of us agree on in a time when we agree on little, that our parks are special and should not be put at risk.
Protests are planned for this weekend at some of those national parks in response to the Trump administration's changes. Stay with us. Still ahead on To the Point, the LA District Attorney releasing his decision on the Menendez brothers' convictions, the next steps in the case.
And a little taste of spring this weekend, upper 60s, low 70s, quick passing system on Sunday. And then we end the month of February in the 70s, full forecast coming up.
And later on the back roads, if you're looking for a new remote location, well, you might want to head to El Dorado National Forest. We'll be taking you there soon. Welcome back in. This is a live look over Golden One Center, where the Sacramento Kings are set to take on the Golden State Warriors tonight. We know that tip-off is at 7 o'clock, so we'll have more on the game coming up at late news tonight at 11. But let's take a look at your forecast if you are heading out to the game, so you know exactly what to wear.
Yep.
It feels like it's going to be pretty nice out, actually.
Yeah, it's really not going to be that bad whatsoever.
Yeah.
I mean, this weekend as well is going to be a total change from much of the weather we've had this month to this point. Taking a look at the rest of the evening, though, 56 by the time we get to the top of the hour, 54 degrees by 8 o'clock. And once we hopefully light that beam in just a few hours' time, be about 52 degrees out there. Again, tip-off at the top of the hour. We made it to 69 degrees today in downtown Sacramento, nearly 70. 66 Sacramento Executive, 67 Stockton, 67 in Modesto. And if you liked these temperatures, you're going to like what we've got this weekend, too, because it's basically repeat both Saturday and Sunday. Right now, 59 degrees in Sacramento, 58 in Elk Grove, 59 Stockton, 63 in Modesto, 62 Vacaville, 56 in Fairfield. That 126 in Auburn is just bad data. We'll just pretend that's not there. 36 in Truckee, 37 in South Lake Tahoe right now. Waking up tomorrow morning, hopefully you get to sleep in, but if you are out and about early on Saturday morning, some patchy fog is possible. Temperature's going to be in those upper 30s to low 40s across the valley, mid 40s in the foothills, 20s up in the high country. Again, maybe some patchy fog. That's all we're looking at tomorrow morning. Tomorrow afternoon, we got some upper 60s, low 70s, mostly sunny and definitely warm for the time of year. Again, periods of sun, periods of clouds tomorrow. Some rain showers possible, especially in the far northern part of the state. You headed up towards Shasta, you're going to run into some rain. Sunday, very similar setup, although it'll be more cloudy than sunny. On Sunday, not expecting any rain in the capital region, even though we've got a system passing to the north. Really, what that's going to do is make it a little breezy for us here on Monday. But again, as we end February, just a few days left, Alex, I've got lots of 70s.
All right, Brendan, thank you so much. Next, on To the Point, the new details in the Menendez brothers case, what the district attorney is now saying about their convictions. Plus, the Los Angeles wildfire investigation, why the mayor ousted the city's fire chief today. New details tonight in the Menendez brothers case. The Los Angeles district attorney speaking out today on his decision on whether they should be released from prison.
The major decision today in the case of Lyle and Eric Menendez.
We have put in the hard work to understand the Menendez case.
Today, the LA DA closing one path that could have seen the brothers released. The DA discounting new evidence of sexual abuse by their father coming to light.
Sexual abuse in this situation, while it may have been a motivation for Eric and Lyle to do what they did, does not constitute self-defense.
Those allegations at the heart of the brothers' claim they killed their parents in self-defense.
We conclude in our informal response that the court should deny the current habeas petition by the Menendez brothers.
Eric and Lyle were found guilty in the brutal killings of their parents, Jose and Kitty, in their Beverly Hills home in 1989. They have served 35 years of their life sentence.
This is done. This is done.
Their case gaining renewed interest on social media after streaming documentaries and shows depicted their stories. The brothers recently calling into the Two Angry Men podcast, sharing they were brutalized behind bars for the last 35 years.
I was picked on, bullied violently, and it was traumatic, and it was continual.
And the brothers have been pursuing two other paths to freedom. We know that one is resentencing, which will be discussed in the coming weeks. The third is through clemency from Governor Gavin Newsom. And tonight, 6 weeks after the devastating Los Angeles wildfires, Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass has ousted the city's fire chief. Bass removed Chief Kristen Crowley immediately and appointed a new interim chief. There has been finger pointing between the chief and the city hall over responsibility for the devastation. And Bass, who has launched an investigation into the wildfire response, claims that Crowley refused to do an after-action report.
A necessary step to the investigation was the president of the Fire Commission telling Chief Crowley to do an after-action report on the fires. The fire chief refused. We all know that 1,000 firefighters that could have been on duty on the morning the fires broke were instead sent home on Chief Crowley's watch. These actions required her removal.
And Crowley has publicly criticized the city for budget cuts that she said made it harder for firefighters to do their jobs. Mayor Bass has also faced some criticism for being in Africa as part of a presidential delegation on the day that the fire started. All right, it's Friday, so you already know it's time for another trip on the back roads tonight. John Bartel is taking us deep into the Tahoe National Forest to check out one of the Northern California's most remote bars.
When you need to get away from it all, I mean, really get away from it all, there's a secluded little hideout where the Tahoe and El Dorado National Forest meets. It's a place where you can really unplug.
The last power is in the town of Quintet.
How far back?
Probably 17 miles.
Welcome to Uncle Tom's Cabin, one of the most remote bars in Northern California that's been catering to the off-roading community for over 160 years.
There's no places like this.
Rance McFarland is one of the volunteer caretakers of Uncle Tom's Cabin. And just to be clear, this cabin is not related to the book Uncle Tom's Cabin. Who is Uncle Tom?
Tom Markham. Tom Markham was original that homesteaded the 40 acres. This is a 40-acre property.
Not a lot is known about Tom Markham, other than he was a miner and a fur trapper who in the 1860s homesteaded near the Rubicon Trail, which was a rough and rugged road linking Lake Tahoe and the gold rush village of Georgetown.
He was well known for his, how he could process his hides there. So there was other trappers that would bring their stuff to him to help process it.
For years, miners, loggers, and ranchers used to pass by Uncle Tom's Cabin to rest, get supplies, or do some trading.
They're traveling through and stopping and visiting, started basically calling him Uncle Tom. So hence, the name is stuck.
It's unclear what happened to Uncle Tom, but in the 1920s, the Lawyers, a prominent cattle ranching family, bought the place and turned it into a rest stop of sorts for early automobile travelers looking for gas or maybe some alcoholic libations.
Does it get pretty rowdy during some of these off-road events that come up?
Yeah, if these walls could talk.
Uncle Tom's Cabin is still owned by the Lawyer family, and it's still an off-road rest stop serving libations. And if you're tired, or if you've had too much to drink, you can stay at one of their rustic cabins. Emphasis on rustic.
People usually just bring their sleeping bags to put on top of the beds.
It doesn't look like you guys have a maid service here.
No.
If you thought the cabins were rustic, wait till you see the two-seat outhouse.
But it's a nice way, I guess, to kind of keep warm and keep company.
Uncle Tom's takes credit cards now, but years earlier, they took a different kind of credit.
Why do you got so many dollar bills up on the roof here?
Well, the loggers back in the day when they used to come over here, they would put their initial or mark on it and use it as a bank to where they could come back and use it.
Well, it may be a little rustic and hard to get to, but there's a certain kind of charm about this place that seems to attract weary travelers back to Uncle Tom's Cabin, generation after generation.
From Uncle Tom's Cabin, I'm John Bartel. Hope to see you on the back roads.
And to find more Bartel's Backroads destinations, make sure you scan that QR code in the corner of your screen. You can download our free ABC 10 Plus app, and we'll be right back after this short break. February is Black History Month, and today Folsom held their Black History Month celebration with a focus on remembering the historical importance the city has played. So we spoke to an event organizer who said it's really about honoring the history as a community.
It's not one or two individuals. It has to be a community that's embracing. It's like, yeah, this town was Negro Bar. Yes. Yes, up the hill was Negro Hill. How do we tell that story in a way that's positive where everybody can walk away saying that was the history back in 1848?
Today was an inaugural event, and the city says that they do plan to hold more throughout the year. And a very special celebration today for an Elk Grove resident, Elnora Caruth. She was honored today with a key to the city for her 102nd birthday. Congratulations, and also happy birthday. As always, thank you so much for watching and spending time with us. I'll see you on Monday. Have a great weekend.